Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I have you now.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Hello!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making.
Oh, no, sorry, wrong movie. Yep, you're right.
Demi Moore, comes after him. And that's all like sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, I don't want a podcast before the podcast.
Oh, the podcast has started.
Oh, bam! So I don't know.
So how much of what I said did you get recorded? How much do I not have to repeat?
Well, nobody heard any of it, so it was like the music was kind of playing over it. We faded into the...
Ooh, aren't we smooth?
We were trying to be artistic this time.
I'm eating a cookie.
But then you brought attention to it.
Yeah.
You brought attention to it, and that killed the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's what you do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great. So anybody who hates munching, this is not going to be the podcast to listen to. So if you didn't like us when we were eating pizza before, we're teachers, and there was a meeting, and I brought food to the meeting, and the food ended up coming to the podcast, and the food's kind of crunchy. Mm-hmm. So you might hear a little crunching here and there.
And if you know any educators, you know that when someone says there's food,
oh yeah,
anybody that doesn't like it will gladly meet you after the podcast outside.
That's true. Pat Canigallo, everybody.
Hey,
how you doing, Pat?
It was a day of days, John. It was a day of days.
Mm-hmm. Those happen every once in a while, don't they?
Mm-hmm. I started my day by saying, "Hey, Pat, how's your day going?" It's good. Haven't had to rough anyone up yet. Can't say that at the end.
Did you?
Can't say that at the end.
Nice. So is this our new favorite snack now?
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dang.
Can we?
Yep.
Was the original Chex Mix bag that you mixed with this the same size? Because it's a ratio thing, I have to know.
No, I think the original Chex Mix bag was a slightly bigger.
Okay, good,
Mm-hmm.
Just for ratio.
I mean, I bought 2 bags of this one. But I only used one of them.
See,
no, that's not true. That's not true. I used this entire bag, dumped that in first, then dumped in the original Chex Mix bag, and then dumped half of another bag of this on top, and then kind of shook it up a little bit.
Got it. All right.
So Chex Mix, if you want to sponsor the 30-something movie podcast and send us Chex Mix every time we record, that would be amazing.
Yeah, shout out to the dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the dark chocolate Chex Mix
with salt. Anything dark chocolate with salt, like
that's good.
Have you ever had dark chocolate covered potato chips?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh, yes.
Brother.
That look, but
okay.
It is like this.
So on a spectrum, where do they fall between Glenn Close and Ann Archer?
Well,
I'm just trying to bring it back to our movie here. So.
I think.
Which would you rather enjoy?
I was just gonna say. Well, but before we gotta explain our thoughts because I don't know if I want to. If I don't want to, I don't know. I want to pick the poor gal that gets cheated on.
Well, right.
So yeah.
Just one of the more. Certainly one of the more graphic that I've watched for the podcast. I know I missed a few, but
Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
I don't.
You make a face every time you mention Blue Velvet.
I don't know. It's just like I feel like Okay, so you know how we're eating the snack mix. You know how some of the chocolate wears off on your hand, and suddenly you look down and you go, "What does that look like that I got on my hand?" Mm-hmm. That's kind of my reaction to this movie or the Blue Velvet or whatever. I feel like I got some of what that looks like on my hand all over my body, and I just need to take a shower.
Okay. Was it not a fan of the erotic thriller?
Yeah, no. I can process what that means. I mean, it sounds like my sophomore year in high school.
Hey, that's not true.
Not even close. Not even by a country mile. But, no, I just... Yeah, and that so if that's what they're going for the movie, if they're just looking for an excuse to throw like to flirt, if you will, flirt with the NC-17 rating by like how much can we squeeze into an R-rated movie? Well, then it shouldn't be critically acclaimed. And is this? I mean, they're I don't know. I had a lot of problems with the movie that negated any possible enjoyment that I would get out of seeing, a steamy love scene.
Steamy kitchen sinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
My thought was like, man, someone's gonna have to clean that up. So you go ahead and do that. I do the dishes in my house. So that drives me
but
nuts.
it was at her place. That's okay.
Well, that's true, but I always feel compelled that like I can't cook, so when I go to someone's house, I do the dishes over there. So I saw that, and it's like, okay, that's great, but now you have the dish towels that you can
There's
put
going to
next
be water all over the floor.
Yeah, that number one, you're either going to step on or slip on, or there's going to be food that then you got wet food stuck to the bottom of your sock, which is really annoying, and it's wet, so you can't just vacuum it up. Now you got to like wipe it up with a paper towel. That takes time. Plus you got water around the sink. I didn't see any of the dish towels that you put around the sink to soak up the water. Otherwise, it just sits there.
I had a lot of problems with water damage in this movie.
Yeah.
Whether it was that I don't know if you call it a love scene in the kitchen in the beginning, or when the tub overflows at the end. This is like,
or the boiling water damage that was done to.
This is like the money pit levels of water damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, are we having a water fight, or are we doing something else? Because I just don't like to mix those things. It's like food and all that kind of thing. I don't want. Let me eat. Leave me alone. You want to have a water fight? We're gonna have a water fight.
Right.
But I don't want to be like a water fight combined with this and.
Anyway, we've already started talking about the movie, so we might as well jump in and talk about the movie. We're recording this a little bit ahead of time, so I don't know if we want to throw in any new movie news right now. Oh, let's do this one really fast, and then we'll jump into Fatal Attraction. Ready Player One. Okay, Pat, your mouth is full of food, so you.
I'm gonna stop crunching and listening.
Are you even going to be able to post this by the time we're done?
Nope. If people are listening to a podcast on Fatal Attraction, then
okay, fair enough.
Get a light.
Well, yes, but what does that say about the fools that are here talking about it? Then?
We have to.
We had to.
87.
It was required.
Okay.
The power of Christ compels us.
I wouldn't bring him into this movie.
I think we could have maybe used a little bit of that in this movie. I'm just saying. All right. Okay. So the Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Mm-hmm. Holy buckets.
Holy buckets is indeed correct. Bo, you have not seen the trailer
I have
yet?
not seen the trailer.
Have you read the book?
No.
Okay.
I'm tempted to do so because I have time.
Okay. If you need a copy, I have a copy.
Oh, right on.
So,
I'm bummed Jeff isn't here because speaking of copies, I do still want to see...
The Room.
Yeah.
We need to go see Disaster Artist at some point.
Yeah.
So we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
It will be difficult to podcast on it if we don't see it. So we'll have to,
That's generally true.
I mean, I could podcast on The Room, but I don't know how many times I can say it sucks in 45 minutes to an hour.
But that's the best part is the levels to which it.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ready Player One. So I read the book a few years ago, not too long after it came out. I knew about it because my sister, I think, had mentioned it to me, because it was an author from Austin, Texas. And I think she saw it at a bookstore somewhere, and she was like, I think this looks like something you would totally love.
Yeah.
And so I remember picking it up and reading it, and as I told you earlier today, I'm like, this book is, if you are somebody who is our age and grew up watching the things that we watched and playing the video games we played and the music we listened to and the TV we watched, and every paragraph in this book is basically a message to you saying, hello, I am one of you. I am writing a book for us. Like every paragraph, every simile is something, compared to something from the 80s. Dropping references of Luke Skywalker and Michael Jackson and MTV and, just everything everywhere. And in this movie trailer, just the Easter eggs to like all the bits. King Kong.
Yes.
Freddy Krueger, the DeLorean. Is that meant to be Akira's motorcycle?
Akira, the motorcycle,
Akira's
motorcycle from Akira's in there. The light cycle's in there.
Yeah. Bigfoot, the monster truck is
Bigfoot,
in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Sunday.
Van Halen is in there. I mean, it's just like, holy.
I just get the feeling that we're going to go to this movie and watch it and just like melt into small puddles.
Yeah, I know. Man, that's just cool.
So I don't have anything else to say other than that, but just beginning to see that trailer.
Yeah,
getting to see more of the movie in that trailer as opposed to
exciting.
the teaser from before. So
that gets exciting.
All right, so let's move very quickly then from something that we thought was very exciting to something that maybe not as exciting for us.
Yeah, this...
Fatal Attraction. All right. Well, really quickly, we do spoil the movies we talk about, so if you have not seen Fatal Attraction, don't listen to this first. Go watch the movie if you want to.
It'll be just as spoiled if we don't ruin the ending or not.
That's true.
Go ahead.
So feel free to go watch the movie first and then come on back if you want to listen to us then. But this movie was Fatal Attraction, or as I'm going to be calling this episode, High Infidelity. It came out on 18th of September 1987. It's rated R for many obvious reasons, many of them involving a kitchen. It was an hour and 59 minutes. It was directed by Adrian Lyne, I think it's Lyne, who also did Unfaithful, Jacob's Ladder, and Flashdance. Producers were Stanley R. Is it Jaff or Jaffe? Was Kramer vs. Kramer, Black Rain, and The Accused. Sherry Lansing was another producer who did Black Rain, The Accused, and Indecent Proposal. I'm sensing a theme here. Writer for this one is James Dearden. He wrote Rogue Trader and A Kiss Before Dying. I believe he also wrote the short story that this was based off of. Cinematography is done by Howard Atherton, who did Bad Boys, Indecent Proposal, and Lolita. Again, following a bit of a theme there. Maurice Jarre did the music. He died in 2009. Also did Ghost, Dr. Zhivago, and Lawrence of Arabia, which I was talking about earlier, in which I would like to see the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie do a little homage to Lawrence of Arabia. Budget for this one was $14 million. Box office was $320.1 million. So the folks liked it in 1987.
People also bought the book 50 Shades of Grey. Doesn't mean it's not a piece of crap. I mean, you know.
There you go.
What is it that they liked so much?
What the heck is the matter with people?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, believe me, I'm the first one who likes thrillers and movies that screw with your mind a little bit, but...
Then maybe go see Malice.
Well, yeah.
It's got Infidelity. It's got this. It's got, you know, a really great speech by Alec Baldwin. Yeah. And it's got twists and turns and all this.
Yeah.
Go see that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
I digress.
That's all right. I have a feeling we're going to do that a lot this time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Michael Douglas played Dan Gallagher. He was in Wall Street, Basic Instinct, and Falling Down. Glenn Close played Alex Forrest. She was in The Natural, Dangerous Liaisons, and the TV series Damages. Ann Archer played Beth Gallagher.
Activity bus riders, please report to the cafeteria at this time. Thank you.
Ann Archer played Beth Gallagher. She was in Patriot Games and Shortcuts. Ellen Latson played Ellen Gallagher, the little girl. She was in Christmas Vacation. Stuart Pankin played Jimmy. He was in Congo, Arachnophobia, and the TV show Dinosaurs. Ellen Foley played Hildy. She was in Tootsie and Cocktail. Fred Gwynn, who died in 1993, played Arthur. He was in The Munsters and My Cousin Vinny. Lois Smith played Martha. She was in Twister and Dead Man Walking. Mike Nussbaum played Bob Drimmer. He was in Men in Black and House of Games. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave this a 78%, and the audience gave it a 71%. Jay Boyar of the Orlando Sentinel said, under the direction of Adrian Lyne, most of the picture's situations seem like randomly chosen placeholders, flat events that just fill time until the final bizarre confrontation. Richard Corliss of Time Magazine...
Yeah, that sums it up. Let's talk more about Ready Player One.
Richard Corliss of Time Magazine said, the film brings horror home to a place where the grown-up moviegoer actually lives. Cinema score, this one got an A. So this was people leaving the theater. As they left the theater, they clearly enjoyed this movie very much.
They were happy they could see naked people without going to an NC-17.
I guess so. However, it was also nominated for 6 Oscars, did not win any of them, but was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, Best Writing, Screenplay, and Best Film Editing.
And you know what's funny? Taking
clowns.
No.
No? No. Bunnies. Oh, not in this movie. Wow.
Taking those...
I'll let that simmer for a little bit.
Individual nominations separately.
Sorry.
God. Like, think about it for a minute, though. Take those nominations separately. The acting was good. I mean, Glenn Close was fantastic.
That's my thought exactly. Like when you heard those nominations, yeah.
Each one of those nominations separately makes sense because there was a lot of good individual parts. I just think the sum of the whole is trash.
Yeah.
All right, here's my attempt to do a 30-something summary here.
Okay.
Which will actually be just slightly shorter than the amount of time it took for him to be unfaithful to his wife.
Yeah.
Dan seems to have a great life. He has a beautiful wife and child, great job, nice apartment in the city, and then in an act of adultery that escalates quicker than you can say stewed rabbit, He sleeps with a woman he's met twice. They spend a few days together, and when he tries to cut and run, his new fling Alex tries to do the same, minus the running. Alex tells Dan she's pregnant with his lust child, and she begins to threaten to tell his wife if he doesn't continue to see her. Then she just starts threatening everybody. In the end, the ultimate stalker tries to take out his family, but gets drowned and shot before she finally dies.
A look that led to an evening.
We were attracted to each other at the party. That was obvious. You're on your own for the night. That's also obvious.
A mistake he'd regret all his life.
Now, where's your wife?
Hey, honey! Oh, got it.
And you're here with a strange girl, being a naughty boy.
I don't think having dinner with anybody's a crime.
I've got to see you.
This has got to stop.
No, it's not going to stop. It's going to go on and on.
She keeps calling me apart.
Hello?
Every time Beth answers the phone, she hangs up. I'm scared, Jimmy.
You play fair with me? Do you have an affair with her? I'll play fair with you.
I don't want to lose my family.
How could you do that?
Now, you're scared of me, aren't you? You're afraid. Gutless, heartless, spineless.
If you ever come near my family again, I'll kill you. You understand? Daddy! I'm not going to be ignored. Alicia, where's Ellen?
She's gone.
Call the police.
Whatever resentment she's feeling, she's probably got it out of her system.
What if she didn't get it out of her system? What then?
Fatal Attraction.
I guess you thought you'd get away with it. Well, you can't.
This is based on a 1980 short story by James Dearden called Diversion, and according to the writer of the short story and the writer of this movie, he said, quote, "It's a little fable about the perils of adultery. It is something that men and women get away with 99% of the time, and I just thought, why not explore the one time out of 100 when it goes wrong?" Fair enough. Okay, we'll let you talk in just a second. There are two endings to this film that were shot. The first one had Alex planting Dan's fingerprints on a knife and then killing herself, while Madame Butterfly played in the background. What's that?
Possibly a better ending.
Yeah, actually, Glenn Close prefers that ending.
I feel like it's that extra, and I'm sure you read the same thing I did.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a mind screw, and the way she tells it, the way they shot it was really cool too. They made it a little film noir-y, and they sort of, and the end kind of was anyway, with the whole bathtub scene was shot a little differently and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that ending is kind of cool. I'm not sure it redeems the beginning of the movie, but I think it might be a better ending.
So it says that she planted his fingerprints on a knife and then killed herself while Madame Butterfly played in the background. Test audiences felt unsatisfied, so Paramount decided to reshoot the ending and make it more violent. They had Dan's wife, Beth, played by Ann Archer, the only untainted character in the movie, shockingly shoot and kill Alex as a statement on preserving the American family. Glenn Close has been reported as saying, along the lines of the changed ending, quote, "When I heard they wanted to make me into basically a psychopath where I go after someone with a knife rather than somebody who was self-destructive and basically tragic, it was a profound problem for me because I did a lot of research about the character," she told Oprah during an interview. So to be brought back 6 months later and told, "You're going to totally change that character," it was very hard. I think I fought against it for 3 weeks. I remember we had meetings. I was so mad. So clearly she was not happy with the changed ending, that she would have preferred the original that was shot, but apparently audiences did not prefer the original that was shot and instead wanted her shot. So that's how that worked. Where do we start?
I'm going to jump right
I don't think we need to start with "Did you like this movie?" because I'm kind of getting the vibe that no, we didn't.
And I just want to so I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
You're like chomping at the bit, so just go.
Like I said, man, today started. Okay.
You're already in a mood, so go for it.
Here's the problem.
He's a race car in the ring.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm the guns of the Navarone.
Super Black TNT.
You're running the Red Bull. I'm a mushroom cloud. Okay.
We're going to end this podcast and be like, there's itty bitty pieces of Poe's brain all over the room.
Well, here's the problem. There's just going to be there's a systemic error in this movie for me to understand it. There's a block. And what it is what that guy said. He said, he made some statement that it's just like, okay, 9 times out of 10, you can have an affair and everything is okay. We want to show the 1 time out of 10 where it's not. Okay, so right there's my problem. The affair, the family, all that was secondary to him dealing with this, what did they say in Wayne's World? Psycho hose beast.
Yeah.
Okay? That was secondary. And that's my problem with it. Because, okay, 10 times out of 10, if there's an affair, there's consequences. And we just totally, like, negated those in the movie. All right? Like, it ends, okay, they pop a cap in her. Okay, done, finished, over with. And what does it end with? Well, we've preserved the American family. What kind of damage is done to the kid? What kind of damage is done to his wife? What kind of damage is done to him? What kind of guilt is he going to deal with after cheating on his wife? Unless he's a complete jerk, then what kind of damage is done to her that she's married to this guy? And how do we move on from there? Let's say no one discovers it. Well,
but that's a 4-hour movie.
Well, yeah, and that's then don't take that topic matter on in that manner. You know, I mean, and that's the thing that I find most galling is that this movie just took it for granted that, yeah, as long as everyone's together in the end and as long as the good guys live, we're okay. Well, he wasn't really one of the good guys. I mean, he wasn't like, you know, tied up and sexually assaulted. I mean, he was a willing party in this whole thing too, but he is painted as like the good guy.
As the victim.
As the victim, yeah. And it's like, well, dude, maybe you want to...
So let's run with that.
That's my thing. I'm going to get off my soapbox, but that galls me.
We're on a podcast. The whole thing's a soapbox.
I was just going to say, that's kind of
so stay on your soapbox. You're fine.
It's kind of what we do.
So one of my questions was, how do you feel about Dan Gallagher as a character? That's Michael Douglas' character. How do you feel about... First of all, before we do that, was it a couple of days ago, Kirk Douglas turned 101?
Good for him.
Did I see that right?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. So, Kirk, if you're listening to this, which I know you are, I mean, you don't mow your lawn anymore, but if you're listening to this, happy birthday.
Yeah, good for you.
That's outstanding.
Keep it up.
So, we'll see you again next year for 102. So Dan Gallagher, the character of Dan Gallagher, main character in the movie, Michael Douglas, how do you feel about him? Because even before we started recording, we talked about this and we're like, that seemed to escalate quickly. Like the whole thing of, there wasn't, I think we weren't recording yet when we said this, but I think the whole thing of, where is he, what's missing from his life that's causing him to then all of a sudden feel, oh, this woman is noticing me.
Yeah.
And for some reason, whatever goes through his head, that she's attractive. And let's throw this out there.
Let's throw it out there. That's the line of the thing.
I don't think Glenn Close is that attractive. So I'm not, trying to be mean by saying that, but just not my type.
Even if she is she is somebody's type, because I'm sure somebody listening right now, she might be, compared to Ann Archer.
Yes.
Let's get to the real root of this problem. Right. It's not like she was gone for a year. She went up to the country for a week with the kid.
She was barely gone a few hours before.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the whole thing. And
he'd only met her once before in his
at
office.
That party.
Like it was. Oh, that's right. Okay, the party.
It was at that party. Yeah. And
if you're
it just it was too fast. It was they didn't show anything in the movie at the beginning that led me to believe he is very dissatisfied with his life. They showed a few little tiny tidbits of, maybe we don't connect like we used to because life is busy and we've got a kid and we've got a dog and but when she's asking him, oh, you took your shoes off, you get ready for bed, could you take the dog out for a walk? And I don't have a dog. But I don't see that being like, could you take a dog out for a walk? You know what I could do? I could sleep with somebody else is what I could do.
I know.
There was nothing there that really showed me that was...
Yeah, I
maybe it's because I don't own a family pet. We have fish, so I don't take those for a walk.
And I got to be honest, I'm sitting in a room with married guys, but if that depiction of marriage is well, things are getting a little rough at home, we just don't commute. Dude, well, take a walk in the real world,
right,
and see what the kind of effort it takes to put into a marriage,
right.
So yeah, I agree with you that the story, it just was not plausible, and that was the thing. It just didn't seem like where is this coming out of?
They didn't portray him as a sleaze, even at work. He wasn't like he wasn't abusive to his secretary. Like there wasn't that moment where you said, "This guy's a sleazeball."
Yeah.
In fact, he came off kind of cool. They were having fun at the party. He and his wife were enjoying themselves a little bit.
He's a nice guy.
And if you want to show that this is the 1 time out of 10, then show 9 other women that show a pattern that this guy's a jerk.
Right.
Paint him as a jerk.
Are they just
even show him flirting at the party. The only
Right.
person he flirts with at the party is Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Show him getting handsy with a bartender or a waitress. Yeah. Something.
Or
is this just trying to show that men are weak?
Well, I think that's what they're trying to show.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's the only explanation that I have, is if this movie is trying to say men are so weak that the first woman that comes along that shows any amount of attention...
Well, it's trying to show men are weak, or, hey, maybe men get a pass. Maybe that's what they're trying to say.
Not anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
not 2017.
Yeah, well, not in 2017, but like, I mean, this was 30 years ago.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to say that much hackneyed line that sensibilities were different, but maybe that's what they're trying to paint as. Oh, well, yeah, what do you expect me to do? I'm just a guy, you know. I mean, maybe that's what they're trying to paint. Again, or maybe they're just using this all as one elaborate setup for, you know, the psycho behavior at the end. And if they're just using this as one elaborate setup, then Pat Canigallo says, shame on them. Pick a different elaborate setup, because that's just a bunch of crap. If this is supposed to be some part of the movie that we're supposed to think about and be like, well, you're cheating on your wife with this complete stranger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we teach kids when they go off to college, hey, you know, you don't want to get in the, you know, just make sure, you know, it's good to wet, you know, and you kind of go out with someone a couple times before you jump in the sack and like, you know, find out that they're psycho. Least of which is, oh, well, you know, I could be pregnant. You mean you don't? I don't use any. Oh, well, you maybe wanted to find that out a little bit before, okay?
Before you had her leaned up against the sink, you mean?
Yeah.
Splashing water in your face, and that was just awkward.
It's just weird.
Yeah, if we're gonna get into specific scenes, I mean that one in particular.
Wow.
It's well, maybe not. That's why I had a question later that was not like, what's your favorite scene? I had like, what's the most memorable scene? Because I don't know that I could say there's a whole lot of favorite scenes in this movie, but I mean that scene in particular.
Twisted, because there's a lot of.
There's some, yeah.
When Glenn Close changes her voice when he fakes dead. And she said, you jerk. And all of a sudden, she's not like that, oh, just, you know, happy and kind of like rambling Rose kind of voice. But then it suddenly just becomes, it's like you hear this tone of voice. I mean, she killed it as a character. I mean, as an actress. I mean, it was,
man.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, as an erotic thriller, I mean, which is the category of this movie.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. The love scenes were weird.
Yeah.
Like almost on par with the whole thing at the kitchen sink, and how they're like splashing water in each other's face and doing that. I mean, I was watching that, and I almost was like, you know what, this scene belongs in the room.
Yeah.
if instead of Michael Douglas, if this was Tommy Wiseau,
it would be fitting. All the sense
in
the world.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
There wasn't, and maybe that's the point. There wasn't anything sexy about it. It was a little more awkward. But then that has me even more confused, because is it then trying to get at the truth of adultery? It's like, hey, he's going off with this mysterious woman, and he's going to sleep with this woman, and his wife's not going to know about it, and, you know, maybe you think that that's mysterious and that's, you know, exotic, but here's what it actually looks like in real life. He's, you know, walking around with his pants around his ankles and getting water splashed in his face on the kitchen sink, and it's really not that enticing. I don't know, and then that confuses me. It's like, well, then what's the message of this movie?
No.
Is it just to show you that this is, to quote a line from The Last Jedi, this is not going to go the way you think?
Yeah.
Well, so, okay, does this bring up a broader question? Does a movie always have a meaning? Or is it, there's a short story, we have the rights to it, we're going to make a movie, let's just make a movie.
Yeah.
And I think every story has a message, it's whether it's a conscious message or not. So maybe that's the, you know, obviously we come here to talk about messages of movies, that's what we do. But is it one of those, you know, oh my God, I'm drawing a total blank right now.
Is the message just by coincidence?
Sometimes a box is a box. You know, it's not. There's nothing more to it.
That was a portress of words.
Well, yeah, I know.
Sometimes it ain't. You know, no, but I get what you're saying, and that's what I say. I just don't know if all this elaborate, you know, the thing about the marriage. I think that's just was a vehicle to get you towards the action at the end, and I think that for me, maybe not with the family, not with marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not so much. Not when there's a kid at home.
Mm-hmm. Have it be so what you're saying is you might have enjoyed, I don't know if enjoy is the right word, you might have been okay or more okay with this movie if he was a single guy. And he ended up having a one night stand and she ended up being kind of stalkerish.
Yeah, like I probably.
But the fact that it was infidelity, that's.
Yeah, that to me immediately.
Yeah.
Well, that it's infidelity and that it's painted as at the end. Oh, he survived, so he's the winner and he's the victim. If they would have,
and she's dead, so everything's okay now.
Yeah, I mean, if we would have done like a riff, like what was the movie Leaving Las Vegas? Isn't that the one that just has like there is no happy ending anywhere in that, and it's just people's. Then hey, if you want to write this movie as things fall apart and she leaves, and then all of a sudden he's got to pick up the pieces, and I don't know why anyone would want to watch a film like that, but. Then okay, but when you take it on and then you paint him as okay, well she was the hero because she kept the family together, and we don't have to have consequences. And again, it goes back to the guy at the beginning that said, yeah, no, 9 times out of 10 you can have an affair and no one, there's no consequences. There's always consequences, and this movie just kind of painted a fantasy world where that wasn't, and so that's what galled me. So yeah, if it was some single guy, and yeah, okay. Dumb story. You should have vetted your girlfriends a little bit closer there, pal. But
so, what about Glenn Close's character? So, Alex Forrest, is she a villain or is she a tragic figure? Because I think depending on which of those endings they went with, it changes her a little bit.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, if you accept that she was a tortured soul for whatever reason, and there's a reading some of the stuff on IMDb, there was Glenn Close took the script to a couple of shrinks when she got the role, and she asked him, she's like, okay, is this even believable? Like, what am I looking at here? And one of the things that the general consensus was, yeah, this person would have issues. They would have been abused as a child. They would have been, hence some of the behaviors. But there's two thoughts, yeah, she could certainly be a victim, but then she made someone else her victim.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and when you're abducting kids and it was
I knew that part. As soon as that came up in the movie, I'm like, oh, Pat's not gonna.
Yeah, she's the villain, bottom line, at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not saying she's not the villain.
No, I get you. I'm just saying for me, that was...
Yeah, I got you.
No, I hear exactly what you're saying, and that is interesting, but I was just piggybacking after what John said. Yeah, as soon as that scene came up, okay. I don't... Yeah, I get what you're saying, but again, if you wanted it to be a character study like that where you're questioning it, then take out then you should have had the other ending. Or you should have maybe explained, why was she glomming onto him so much? If...
Because the theory would be, I think at that point, that anyone who shows her enough attention would...
Yeah.
She'll latch on to the first.
Right, and
But maybe go find another, find another guy. At some point you're going to use that up and, okay, well, he's, but to go after them with the knife and all that, which I'm sure that there's some people with a whole bunch of letters after the name that I don't have would say that, well, this is totally factual. But I'm just saying from a movie standpoint, again, it's kind of like, whoa, he jumped, he jumped to adultery pretty quick, and now all of a sudden, whoa, we're jumping to like murder and everything, I could see if you're, okay, well, I'm trying to, you're abducting his kid, you're killing the rabbit, you're doing all these things because what? You're trying to take his life? You want to take the place of his wife, or do you want to have a life with him? And if you want to have a life with him, what's your end game? What do you think is gonna happen? I just don't see it just didn't gel.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mind.
I don't know.
I don't mind movies where, like the thriller type movies where I think Bo, you mentioned like having a bit of a twisted side to it. I don't mind movies where you take a character to the levels of endurance psychologically. I think of something like what was that one called? Insomnia with Robin Williams and Al Pacino. And I think of, and I don't want to spoil anything by saying too much about it, but Al Pacino is is it like a detective from New York City? And he ends up in Alaska, and it's during the time when it's the sunlight, for 30 days straight, and he's having trouble sleeping, and then the killer in the movie actually ends up using that to his advantage. Like, he calls him in the middle of the night and wakes him up and is like constantly keeping him from sleeping, and then is messing with his mind the whole time, and stuff like that. Like, I like those movies. And I see part of this movie being that like he's being pushed. So that portion of this movie I was okay with. Like, watching somebody get pushed, and how are they going to react if you push somebody and push somebody and push somebody? How do they react to it? I think it was the adultery part of it. It was, and on his part, not. I mean, actually, until she went total psycho, I disliked him more than I disliked her. Like, I put most of this on him. I'm like, well, okay, dude, if you hadn't been so stupid, and there was nothing. Not that there's any excuse for it to begin with, but there's no excuse for it. Like, there's nothing in your life, as we said before, there's nothing in your life that says, oh man, I'm really missing out, and I really need to, go somewhere else to find affection or love or whatever it is I'm looking, or just a good time or whatever. So to me, he's the loser in the beginning of this movie. He's the one that I have no sympathy for.
Yeah.
But the part of the movie where we're going to push somebody, and just how she pushes and everything, she throwing the acid on his car and like all that other, to me, that's interesting. As a thriller,
The calling and hanging up on the wife.
I'm like, that's okay. That's good. I mean, that's good storytelling. That even the stuff with the bunny, I'm like, that's freaking creepy.
Right.
But just, I mean, maybe the initial motivation for why it's happening.
Yeah.
And who initiated it and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard for me, where I come from in a movie, it's hard for me to root for somebody, because you behaved yourself into this. Time to fess up and get this person arrested. And
as that policeman said, when he said, "Yeah, I've got a friend and he's got a problem with this," like, well, this is your friend's bed. He's going to have to sleep in it. I'm like, yeah, that kind of sums up the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, this was kind of your fault to begin with, so. Yeah. If you hadn't had a better umbrella, that's the lesson here. If you just had a better umbrella.
How about this? Just don't care about getting in the rain.
Well, there's that too.
I mean, I don't know.
There's that too. There's a lot of problems here.
There's a lot.
So let's go back to one of my other questions. Memorable scene. There's a lot of, and Bo just shivered.
Well, the
there's
bunny,
a lot of memorable stuff.
Like, you think about this movie, at least for me, you think about the movie.
Let me ask this question. Had you seen this movie before this? Before watching it for the podcast?
I had not seen the whole movie before this, but I had a little PTSD when I saw the bunny scene, so I have seen that somehow, somewhere, and it could be as simple as in some anthology of creepy, weird scenes that I've, or I don't know, but because there are parts of the movie I definitely did not remember, and in my head, I was equating it to a completely different movie altogether. So that's neither here nor there.
Because I had never seen this before, but after I watched it, then I was reading a whole bunch of articles on it. I was looking up stuff online, and nearly every article that talked about Fatal Attraction was like, well, the famous bunny scene.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I've never heard of.
See, I'm
kind of a movie fan, and I've never heard of the bunny scene. Some of the articles were like, when you think of Fatal Attraction, you think of boiled bunnies. And I'm like, I've never heard of the boiled bunny scene.
Buddy of mine at work asked what, I said I was going over here today to do the podcast. I said, what movie? I said Fatal Attraction. He goes, oh, the bunny. That was what.
That's the signature scene.
Yeah, and.
But yeah, no, I hadn't seen it before, so.
Because I didn't remember. What was the one that made... I convinced myself I hadn't seen the movie because I didn't remember the part where she's out looking for the daughter. Yeah. So that's when I was like, okay, I am finally convincing myself I have not seen this movie from start to finish. But I knew that bunny scene. And
I give the wife's parents a lot of credit for even letting him in the hospital room.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was kind of a fishy look, but...
But that goes to the whole... problem with the movie, like the fact that the wife even called, or not called, but that she stood there with him while he called her, and then she took the phone and said, this is Beth Gallagher, leave my family. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'll kill you. I can't
Yeah.
remember how she worded it, but that's not the point. The fact that she even did that, like, this is less than 5 film minutes after saying, get out of this house. Something...
Again, the whole marriage piece, the thing that sees as this big glaring, like, ugh, what the heck? It was all just a vehicle to get to the dealing with, so.
Which, can you be drowned and then, like, wait that long and then come back up again?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was weird too, but that was part. But I feel like that was part of the reshoot problem. They went back and reshot that, and I think that, unfortunately, was a casualty of that.
Take the knife out of her hand.
Because the only time I've ever seen that happen is when somebody gets a giant syringe poked in their chest.
Yeah.
Totally different movie, but
yeah,
that's the only other time I've seen somebody jump up that fast, or unless they're like zombified or
there's a guy.
Something like that.
We were talking about other movies that Michael Douglas is in. We're talking about Ghost in the Darkness, and there's this guy that his name is Peter Hathaway Capstick, and he's was a big game warden and hunter and all that in Africa, and he talks about dealing with these very deadly animals in Africa, and the big 5, and he has a phrase called paying the insurance, and he says whenever you take down a man-eating lion and you think it's down, or whenever you take down a crocodile that's been snatching kids out of the neighborhood nearby,
give it one more.
And he calls it paying the insurance.
Okay.
You just make sure when it's down, it's down. And so I'd look at this movie and it's just like, okay, let's pay the insurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so maybe that's how she's like a wild animal. Like maybe somebody did their research and they're like, there's stories of that where if you think you've taken down a wild animal and you don't pay the insurance, then it'll come back. And yeah.
I don't know, fellas.
Yeah. So I mean, I think consensus is we were not fans of this movie.
Individual performances.
There's plenty of
were
like
solid,
individual stuff that was solid. Like I don't think the story is bad. The writing's not bad. Like dialogue and things like that is not bad.
No, but
I think there are some flaws in like the pacing.
I'm concerned about the underlying short story.
Right.
Like, how many pages in the short story are devoted to his marriage that falls apart? Or is it...
Well, in a short story, things are going to happen even faster. So.
Well, yeah, that's the part I think I'm struggling with.
Did the marriage fall apart? Or did he just
it didn't.
I'm going to go...
Yeah, she's been gone for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh no, what will I do with myself?
Right.
I have no idea.
See, folks, this is what happened before Netflix.
Go to a bar, have a cocktail, buddy. I mean,
I'm just gonna say, I was talking to John. When you're in that situation, and it was a big cut between they go to the bar.
We're back to Pulp Fiction again.
We're back to Pulp Fiction, and he's in the bar, and then all of a sudden, next thing they're in the elevator, and they're starting the process. Before it gets to that, do you remember the scene when
going down in an elevator?
Vincent Vega, when Vincent Vega's over at Mia's house, and everyone was worried because they, Marcellus threw Tony Rocky Horror out the window for giving her a foot massage, and he's all nervous because he's not sure things are looking to get amorous, and he's looking in the mirror and he says, "Okay, you're gonna drink. You're gonna have a drink. One drink. You're gonna drink your drink. You're gonna be polite. You're gonna go home. And he goes through the whole thing. This is what I'm gonna do. It's just like, you got to give yourself that talk. You got to give yourself that talk. I mean, where's that? I think Pulp Fiction had more reality than this movie did. I mean, and that's saying something.
It moved too fast for a movie that was too... Like, that's the other thing. If they tried to squeeze it all into 90 minutes, okay, they were making a short movie from a short story. Okay, fine. It was still 2 hours long, and we're talking about how it moved too fast. So let's... I mean, what?
Well, because I think there needed to be more build-up to...
Yeah.
Why are you doing this in the first place?
And more build up between the two of them.
Yeah.
They ran into each other at a party.
Right.
They had 2 minutes at his office, and it rained a little too hard.
Right.
And it could have been, we didn't even need extra, like, all you would have needed to do...
There's a lot of water in this movie.
You know what, you're right.
All you would have needed to do, really, was just... And you had great actors and actresses in it. All you would have needed to do was just show some of the... Like, redo some of the exchanges between him and his wife.
That's and him and Glenn Close. I feel like you needed...
Right. If you would have
just... It all centers around him.
If you would have just altered those scenes slightly, it would have been more plausible. Yeah. He still would have been a scumbag. Oh, yeah. And I still would hope that they'd rewrite the end to make him like, you are a scumbag. Get out of my house.
Right. He's still a scumbag. She's still whacked out. But at least you buy it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
and
buy
maybe
it.
maybe it ends. You remember how the X-Men Origins Wolverine ended, where his his wife for a while grabbed the guy's foot, in Colonel Stryker, and said, "You're going to walk until your feet bleed, and blah 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 blah. Just keep walking." Have a scene like that. Get out of this house. You are not welcome here. You have done that. You have endangered our family. You would, and send him on his way. Bam, done. Movie. I would say this is weird. I don't know if I really like this stuff, but at least it would have been. At least the message would have been solid or believable.
Yeah. And obviously we come from different starting points, so I'm just having so much trouble believing most of it. I can't even put a coherent thought together right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, do anything else we want to say about? I think we've said pretty much everything you can say about Fatal Attraction.
Yep. Ready Player
clearly,
One looks awesome.
Yeah, Ready Player One. So that's Pat's takeaway. Fatal Attraction, Ready Player One looks awesome. But clearly there are people that like this movie.
Obviously.
It got good scores on all those things, and it got, was nominated for awards, and so clearly this is somebody's movie. It's just
want to know what I missed
for the three of us.
This is the moment where I go, what did I miss? Because so many people.
Yeah.
A lot of people like this movie. I do not.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's quoting, what was the mathematician in Jurassic Park? You're so busy focusing on the how this can happen, you're not focusing on the if this should happen, or whatever his quote was. The thing was much more eloquent. Yeah. But maybe that's it. Everyone was just like, oh my gosh, and so caught up with this thriller, and there's...
Is it a product of its time? Is it that in the 80s...
There's a lot of water in Jurassic Park, too.
Is it in the 80s people aren't...
Looser morals?
I was actually going to say the reverse.
Oh, okay.
Is it that...
Well,
is it that the indiscretions of people, men in general, are more at the forefront now? So seeing it in the 80s, it was scandalous and shocking, and it was a film that made you think about something that no one talks about. But I mean, let's be honest, we're hearing about 3 affairs a day now.
Right.
It's not...
It's not only affairs, it's
right. I mean, you know what I mean.
But I get exactly what you're saying.
Affairs is the wrong word there, but we're hearing about indiscretions every 10 minutes.
Right.
So maybe that's it. I mean, if you think about it,
and
art that shocks you can be really exciting and fun, and it can...
Well, and it would have been shocking then, because, we in some of the other movies we've looked at, we talk about the kind of like the, people tie this in with Ronald Reagan, and they're like Reagan and the, American family values of the 80s, and trying to look back to the 50s and say, well, that's what we want to return to. We want to return to American family values. And so then do you bring, maybe then is it just to shock people and say, like, here's, yes, you got your American family values. We've got the, the young kid and the dog and the apartment, but we're going to go buy a house and, everything, life. He's got a good family and a good job, and here's where the American family values, here's what's just teeming under the surface. You go back to the Blue Velvet stuff. Here's the surface of everything, and here's the bugs crawling around under the surface with the severed ear and the, maybe they were trying to do something like that and say, here's your American family values, and here's how fast your American family values can be thrown out the window.
See, I guess I'd rather watch The Dark Knight, where you have the Joker doing that, and joking aside, but I mean that seemed much more plausible when you had it in that movie.
A lot of water in The Dark Knight.
I know.
There's a lot of water in movies.
You remember where Joker was just like,
Rogue
look,
One.
Rogue One. There was a lot of water.
It was more
Waterworld. A lot of water.
Water.
Yeah.
It was more like, okay, well, you have the bomb, there's the convicts on this boat, and you've got the people on this boat. Well, who gets blown up? Who does this? I mean, that was actually a really, that's an interesting conundrum. With this, it just, I don't know. And like you said, Blue Velvet, well, what's the one where the kids found the body, and then everyone's like, well, how are kids going to respond? And
River's Edge.
Yeah, and that was even, I'm just like, I find no relation with these people. I don't.
You're just not a fan of the thriller movie.
Yeah, maybe. If it had Michael Jackson, sure. But
that's right. Yeah.
But I don't mind thrillers. I mean, I don't mind. Malice was really good. I can't think of any other thrillers.
You're just not a fan of
Bone
thrillers.
Collector?
Thrillers that are stupid.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
I don't like stupidity.
Right. Put
I can't.
stupid in the
What,
title.
what
you
does
know.
Jeff Mazuka always say? And he has a great look on his face. He's just like, I can't stupid. I'm done for today. I can't stupid anymore.
Yeah.
So, fellas, I
All right.
hate to podcast and
No, actually, we're all done. So
Okay,
we're
I've
wrapping
gotta
up.
go,
So
pick my
thank
son
you.
up from
You go do that.
youth group and give him a big hug and just so I will say speaking.
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my
that's
wife.
That's right. I am going to say speaking.
That
of
should have been
thrillers-
the end of this movie. They should have taken like the end of Clue, and then
Yes.
Michael Douglas should have been there with like the police chief, and he's like, so everything is resolved now. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
Yeah, I know.
Her from the sidelines.
Well,
no,
you're not.
Speaking of Stranger things and Stranger Things, you've seen all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Stranger-
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Speaking of thrillers and just the scene where the kid's like jumping into bed. So here it is. Like I binged season 1 the day before into Thanksgiving. And then the night of Thanksgiving, I stayed up all night and binged all of season 2.
You are
Friday morning.
You are
and
an
it was-
impressive man.
Well,
I
and
cannot
I was
do
like,
these
I'm
things.
trying to
I
go
am
to
too
home.
old
And I'm
to lose
underneath-
that much sleep.
I'm underneath the covers with the things. I don't want the lights. Like, and I got the earbuds in. I've got my cell phone, and I'm watching it on my phone.
Go to another room, guy. Like,
Well, I did, but I kind of, I wanted to get to bed.
got
I'm like,
scared.
This guy's impressive.
no, it's even better. So I'm under the covers. I'm watching this thing, and all of a sudden Daniela comes walking in, and as she comes walking in, and she just appears right next to me. I have my earbuds in, so I can't see it. All of a sudden, it's right at one. I don't want to do any spoilers for Stranger Things, but it's one of the moments that's just intense. And all of a sudden, she goes, "What the heck is going on in here?" I jumped and shrieked about 2 feet in my bed, and I looked at her and I quick flipped the phone over, and I'm like, "Daniela, what's wrong? I'm getting lonely in my bed. Can I come in?" I'm like, "Yes, you can. Come into bed." And so I brought her in. She goes to sleep. My daughter's 4, by the way. She goes to sleep. She goes, and all of a sudden, I'm like, okay. I cuddled up next to her and then turned it back on. I'm like, I'm going to hold Daniela to get through the rest of Stranger Things. I need my 4-year-old daughter for bravery, for courage. It's good seeing you guys. Yeah, it was good. Sorry, I gotta run soon, but
Go for it.
we'll talk to you later.
So, if you totally disagree with us, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that do. If you disagree with us, we would love to hear your thoughts on Fatal Attraction, why you liked the movie.
Convince us.
Yeah, convince us, please.
Tell us what we missed.
Because clearly this is, from critics, from the box office, this is clearly a movie that people either enjoyed or were intrigued enough to go see. And, I mean, that's no small amount for the 1980s. Was it 300, what did I say, 320 some million?
I don't...
320.1 million. So, I mean, clearly that's a lot of money for a movie of this type and of the time period. So I'm sure we're missing something, or it's just not our style, and maybe it's your style. So we would really and truly love to hear, convince us why you like Fatal Attraction, why it's a good movie, because we didn't feel it. So, and maybe had we been older and watched this in the 80s, we'd feel differently. So I don't know. Maybe it's a time thing, but either way, we were not necessarily fans of it, but we know that there are plenty of people out there who are. So we'd love to hear from you. How could you get in touch with us if you wanted to? You could meet us at a Japanese book party, and then we could meet again for drinks the day later, and then we could get much, much closer. I'm not going to recommend that, though.
No.
No.
Which part? The Japanese book party, or are they getting closer?
The book party sounds fun.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Japanese book parties.
I will say, if I was going to turn this into a comedy movie, I think I would have done the Aerosmith song "Love in an Elevator."
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's appropriate.
I think they could have gotten away with that anyway.
I think they probably could have.
And that would have been
Had that song come out by the time this movie?
Yeah, I gotta look that up now,
Okay.
because that might not have by 87.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not the vibe they were going for, but
It's certainly not. Nope, wasn't out yet.
No, why not?
89.
Oh, man, that would have been perfect. Okay.
Yep.
Maybe Steven Tyler was inspired by this movie.
Oh, there it is.
Maybe.
Sort of ruins the elevator for me.
Rumor starting now.
Yeah.
And in an elevator that has no walls.
Yeah, makes things a little difficult. Easier to shoot it, though.
That's also true. I mean, that's awkward for the camera crew that has to do it in a traditional style elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, before we sink any further into a movie that had awkward scenes with sinks, How can you get in touch with us? All of our social media things are 30 in the word podcast. So 30podcast@gmail.com is our email address. 30podcast.com is our website. We are at 30podcast on Twitter, which we are inching ever so closer to 1,000 followers. We're almost there. So that would be very, very nice. If you have friends on Twitter, feel free to have them follow us. We are also on Facebook, facebook.com/30podcast. You can listen to us on Stitcher, Satchel, Google Play, iTunes, and through our website on 30podcast.com. Our movie's coming up next time around sometime soon. We need to go see it first. But sometime soon, we're going to be doing a show on The Disaster Artist. And our last movie of 1987 is Throw Mama from the Train. And then we are going to round out the year with Star Wars The Last Jedi. So we will have those three coming up. The order of those will just kind of depend on when we can see Disaster Artist, and I'm seeing Star Wars this week, so we'll figure out when the best time for us to be able to record is. I imagine we're going to all see that pretty quickly, around about the time it comes out. So we will get that in as quick as we can. But those are our next few episodes coming up, and then we've got 1988 movies are coming up soon. We'll start those in January. But until then, be excellent to each other and go watch some good movies. And like I said, if you love Fatal Attraction, we'd love to hear from you. So let us know. Twitter, Facebook, the email. We've actually got a voicemail line too. It's 872-356-6843. 872-35-MOVIE. So if you call that, then you can leave a message on the love line and tell us why you enjoyed Fatal Attraction. But until next time, we will see you all for either The Disaster Artist, Throw Mama from the Train, or Star Wars The Last Jedi. Be excellent to each other and go watch some good movies.